Well, good afternoon, guys. I'm going to do a comparison of the 4 different types of cherry tomatoes that I've grown this year. 3 of which I started from seed myself, and then 1 that I picked up here from the local farm place where I buy some plants occasionally. And the 4 different kinds I'm growing or grew are Mochi from Johnny's seed. I started those from seeds. Sweet 100s, which I started from seeds of the Supersweet 100. These larger ones over here are Unicorn that I started from seed. And the last, these are the Sugar Rush, or the Sugar Rush Gold, I believe is what they're called. Sun Gold is what these are called. Now I've got all 4 of the tomatoes up here side by side, so you can kind of see a size comparison, and that's a quarter up here. So the first 2 and the third one, so the Mochi, the Sweet 100, and the Sun Gold are all roughly the same size, just a little bit larger than a quarter. The Unicorn, though, is quite significantly larger. So that's the size comparison of the cherry tomatoes. And if you look at the colors, of course, the Sun Gold is an orange, or kind of a yellowish orange one, and then Mochi is kind of glossy. The skin feels really thin, not anything compared to what your Sweet 100 or the Unicorn. The Unicorn feels like it has a really thick skin, but we'll see here in just a minute when we cut them open. Now, as far as skins go, Mochi definitely has a very, very thin skin on here. So I'm betting if there was enough heat and not enough water, these would split real easy. That's just a guess. I haven't seen it yet, but that's what I'm suspecting. And of course, Sweet 100s, if it's super hot, they're going to split. I don't know on the Unicorn yet, but it had the thickest skin of all of these out here. And then the Sun Gold down here on the end was real easy to slice through. But it has a thicker skin than Mochi, but maybe not as thick as the Super Sweet 100. Now, as far as taste, I'm going to taste each one and kind of compare them, and then I'm going to drink a little bit of water between each one just to kind of clear my palate so I can get a better flavor profile on each of them and not so much. And we'll start with the Mochi. Mochi has a sweet taste when you first taste it. The skin is definitely really thin. To me, it reminds me of a beefsteak tomato. That's what I taste when I taste it. I mean, it tastes like a miniature beefsteak tomato. Now, as far as the Sweet 100, which is up until this year been my favorite, let me taste it. Typical Sweet 100 taste. Spitting seeds here. Skin is a little bit thicker than Mochi. Little sweet, little tart. You taste the acid in this one a little bit more than the Mochi. A little more meaty than the Mochi. This one's a lot softer texture. Now, as far as Unicorn, juicy. Oh, that has a sweeter taste than the Sweet 100 on the first bite. But that reminds me of biting into like a Roma tomato. A little more umami, earthy flavor in the Unicorn. Definitely meatier, and definitely a thicker skin on there. So maybe this will be the least crack resistant of all of them. And then I'll try let me take a drink of water. And now I'll try the Sun Gold. Sweet. That's what hit me first, sweet. Not as meaty as the Sweet 100, and definitely not as meaty as the Unicorn. Thicker skin than the Mochi. Not as much acid. but its sweetness is comparable to the Sweet 100, maybe a little bit sweeter, but it's a different kind of sweet than the unicorn. I'm not sure I care much for that unicorn as far as a cherry tomato goes, because when I'm looking for a cherry tomato, I'm wanting the sweet like the Sun Gold or the Sweet 100s. So my pick out of these, of course, is either going to be the Sweet 100 or the Sun Gold, but I think the Sun Gold's becoming my new favorite. This is my first year growing these. So that's my opinion of the cherry tomatoes that I've grown this year. Now, will I grow these next year? I'll definitely grow the Sweet 100s again, and I'll definitely grow the Sun Golds again. These I'm not sure about. If I want a beefsteak, I can grow a beefsteak tomato. The thin skin concerns me that there might be some splitting in there. It doesn't have a bad flavor. The skin is really thick, and again, it reminds me of something like Aroma or maybe a Rutgers tomato as far as flavor profile and the thickness of the skin. So I don't know about that. Now, these do put on some beautiful long trusses of tomatoes, so if you're looking for a truss that has 20 or 30 tomatoes on it, Unicorn might be the one for you. Mochi is having about 10 or 12 per truss. Sweet 100s, it can vary, but 10 to 15, maybe even 20 cherry tomatoes per truss. And these are getting about 10 or 12 per truss. But these really put on the long trusses. So if you're looking for beauty, go for the Unicorn. If you're going for flavor, go with Sweet 100 or Sun Gold. And that's my opinion. Brown cherries. It's time for the annual tomato sandwich with the first tomatoes of the year, lightly toasted. Wisconsin 55 for the win.